Being able to positively identify the person remotely connecting to a Windows server or desktop is extremely important. The last thing that we want to do is allow an unauthorized user to take advantage of a shared, stolen, or guest password to obtain access to all the critical resources at the office. So let's look at 5 ways that we can use AuthAnvil to do this. One of the most important types of agents in AuthAnvil is the interactive logon agent. It comes in 2 flavors. The first is the Windows Logon Agent, designed to allow you to log into Windows XP and Windows Server 2003. The other is the Credential Provider, designed to log into Windows Vista, Windows 7, and all flavors of Windows Server 2008. So let's look at 5 ways that you can get the most out of your AuthAnvil Logon Agents. Tip 1. Install methods. Use the various install methods to suit your environment. There are several ways that you can install the AuthAnvil Logon Agent. By far, the easiest method is to simply run the standalone installer as an administrator. It will provide you with an interactive installation process, asking you for simple questions to install and set up the agent. Of course, if you have to install this on more than a handful of computers, this will get a little tedious, which is why you should consider some of our other options. First, you can pass command line parameters to the installer so that you don't have to be prompted during installation. Even better, you can use the silent mode switch and completely script this without user interaction. Check the Windows Logon Agent documentation to get the exact options you'll want to use. If you use Active Directory software distribution policies, we have you covered there too. You can use our MSI packaging to automate the deployment directly with Active Directory. The next time a system boots up and gets software policies, the AuthAnvil agent will immediately be installed. You can even use these MSI packages and automate the installation with your favorite IT automation system like Kaseya. Take advantage of the deployment scripts in the AuthAnvil Management Pack to automate the deployment to any systems you wish to protect on your client networks, across domains with a single click. Tip 2. Deployment packaging. Save time using our deployment packaging tools. If you're going to automate the deployment of the AuthAnvil Logon Agents, you should really become familiar with the INI Builder. It's a simple tool that will generate an appropriate INI file that the MSI packaging will use during remote installation. Simply fill in the standard config about your AuthAnvil server and decide if you want to take advantage of any of the advanced settings, like allowing people to make changes in the control panel or require them to use a password to uninstall the agent. Hit Create File and this file will automatically be generated for you. Oh, and here's a bonus tip when you think about automating the deployment to Windows XP and Windows Server 2003. This agent requires a reboot immediately after installation for those platforms, so make sure you automate this deployment on logged out desktops and servers. No user is going to want to be bumped off in the middle of their workday. Don't fret about this though for Windows Vista, Windows 7, or Windows Server 2008. The Credential Provider framework is designed so you don't need a reboot after it's installed. And that's a good thing. Tip 3. Override options. Understand how the override authentication policies work. There will be times that you'll want to adjust the authentication policy so that only certain people need to provide a stronger AuthAnvil credential. You can control this in several ways using different override options. First, you can take advantage of the local and Active Directory security groups to control just who requires a stronger credential check. By default, our agents explicitly require all users logging in interactively to provide their AuthAnvil passcode. To override this behavior, simply add the users to the defined override security group, and they will not be challenged for an AuthAnvil credential. By default, this security group is called AuthAnvil Override. Of course, during installation, you can select any security group that you wish. Now here's an extra tip for the MSPs out there. Available to you as a partner is an option to reverse the behavior of the default authentication policy. In this way, your technical team can be required to provide their stronger AuthAnvil passcode, but allow your normal users to continue to log on just like they did before. Contact customer service if you'd like to explore how to set that up. And finally, we have override passwords. If there ever becomes a time when you absolutely need someone to get in to bypass AuthAnvil, you can give them the override password. This is a system-level password that will allow anyone who knows it to forego the need to provide their AuthAnvil passcode, if it's required or not. It should be closely guarded and only used in emergencies, and it should be changed as soon as it's used. We include automation scripts to help you do this in the AuthAnvil Management Pack, and also include monitoring scripts so you can be alerted if the override password is ever used. Make sure you watch for that and audit why an override was used in the first place. Tip 4. Cache credentials. Disconnected laptops can be protected with AuthAnvil too. Mobility is key these days for the most productive of companies. Being able to have an office laptop on the road is critical for many roaming users, which makes it vitally important that we know for sure who's using those systems. A drawback to most traditional strong authentication systems is that they always have to be connected to the office or the internet to work. Not so with AuthAnvil. You can enforce two-factor authentication on notebooks even when they're not connected, such as when you're flying in an airplane or when they may be on the road without internet access or cell service. This is done using AuthAnvil's cache credentials. If you enable this feature, every time you successfully authenticate to an AuthAnvil server, a secure list of cache credentials are seeded to your machine. This way, the next time you try to log on, if the agent cannot reach the server, it will fall back to check the local AuthAnvil cache. By default, this will allow you up to 25 offline authentications before you need to connect back to the AuthAnvil server. And you'll be warned if you start to run low. The next time you're online and successfully log in, the system will be synced and local cache will be replenished. This is a really cool feature I personally use a lot when traveling on the road. When my iPhone is in airplane mode and my laptop is disconnected, I can still securely log into my system and get work done, even if I'm 20,000 feet in the air. Try that with a system that needs to call you or send you your OTP, or a token that needs to connect to a server. It can't be done, which is why AuthAnvil works so awesome for roaming users in the field. We can. Tip 5. Logon control panel. Changing agent settings is easier than you think. You probably don't know it, but by default, the AuthAnvil Logon Agents install an icon in the security control panel to allow you to change the settings. You must be logged in as an administrator to do this, and this applet can be explicitly locked out if the person installing it sets an installation password. But when you need to make changes to the agent, this is by far the easiest way to do it. Simply browse to the security section in the control panel and select AuthAnvil Logon Config. From there, you can change any settings you need to, including the ability to change the override password if it's ever been used before. If you can make any changes, an audit event will be written so that the IT team can monitor for such events. Remember to watch for these changes closely so you can audit such behaviors accordingly. So there you go, 5 ways to get the most out of your AuthAnvil Logon Agents. Tip 1. Install methods. Tip 2. Deployment packaging. Tip 3. Override options. Tip 4. Cache credentials. Tip 5. Logon control panel. The AuthAnvil Logon Agents are by far the most powerful agents we include with your strong authentication system. When you need to know with certainty who is interactively logging on to those Windows servers and desktops, they are a critical component of your security strategy, especially if those systems are in the field and not easily controlled by the office. Take advantage of these 5 tips to get the most out of your AuthAnvil investment. We hope you can hear us 5 by 5. Until next time, remember that a strong work-life balance comes from giving your staff anywhere, anytime access to their systems. Make sure you take advantage of your investment in AuthAnvil to do it securely.